From the far-flung reaches of the YouTube galaxy, it's the Outer Rim!
Because that's how it should be, right? It should just be chaos right from the start.
Sure. You got to establish yourself immediately with what the audience should expect from us.
Yes. Hi, my name's Rob. You might know me from Smirking Gun. If you're on this channel, you probably know who I am, Rob from Smirking Gun. Right over here. I pointed in the right direction, right, for the first time.
We got it. Hi, everyone. I'm Darrin from D's Reviews. We work together a lot, and we're thinking that, hey, we're going to try something else. We talk a lot about movies and shows and games sometimes, and we're thinking it's a bigger world than that. And maybe we need to establish a new place where we can kind of talk about the bigger things out there.
Yeah, because I've been feeling really unhappy with I don't feel right sitting around talking about movies and TVs and all the things that I do love. Comics, video games. I mean, on my channel, we've been playing nonstop video games. But for a while, I have not been getting a lot of the same satisfaction. And I haven't been feeling very good about spending so much time talking about pop culture and comics and games as much as I used to, because I've changed. The world has changed, and I've dabbled in the past with making serious videos about serious topics, going all the way back to when I talked about my sobriety story way back when I first kind of started getting going again. And then I talked about my background in the Jehovah's Witnesses back in like 2020, 2021. And I dabbled in a few videos about the current administration when they were running against Joe Biden. And I made a video about when they failed to codify abortion rights and the Supreme Court did what they did. But it's never been the crux of my channel. It's always been movies, shows, games, comics. And with the way things are, though, I just can't keep doing just that. When that's not what I'm thinking about. There's we're talking right now about Alien Earth together on Darrin's channel. And I'll be honest, there are times when I'm just like, man, rather than talk about Alien Earth, we should let's talk about what horrors happened today that we have to deal with. And I know that, there are, one of the things that bothers me, and it's just my own personal, is how so many of the people that do what we do on YouTube are just still towing that line, plugging away, having nothing important to say, still treating movies and TV shows and like it's the most important fucking thing in the world. The way that the discussions are, the passion, and I've had that passion. I still have that passion when I talk about stuff, but they never bring their passion to anything that's actually important. And I've lost so much respect for people that don't even bring up anything ever. And that's their prerogative. Again, this is my own personal opinion. I've lost so much respect, though, for people who I'm just going to keep ignoring things and never have any skin in the game of life. That I'm just going to keep talking about this show like it's the most important thing in the world, while all over the world, and it's always been like this, but it's like in other countries, we have seen on the news horrors happening our whole lives. But ever since the orange turd has gotten his second chance to take his revenge on everyone that kept him out of the White House 4 years ago. Things have turned completely sideways, and on a daily basis, I am having a crisis mentally of what do I do? And we've been trying to get this going for a while. And we were supposed to do this a while ago, but I pretty much was cracking up. I was not good, and I always tell everyone on you that if you make content on YouTube and you need to take a mental health break, you take that break. If this is your job and you won't take a mental health break just because you got to bring in those views for your money, it's not good. It's not good. And even though I wanted to talk about stuff that's important, I wasn't ready. It was going to be a train wreck, and maybe that would get more views because people would rather watch train wrecks than listen to positivity or anything meaningful. And we are going to talk negatively about things, but it's not all going to be that, because I don't feel that way. None of the things that are happening around here need to be dealt with in always such a negative, like, oh my God, we're all dead.
No, not at all. I completely agree. And I think that's the one thing that I personally am looking forward to kind of like venturing out and doing in a way of different programming here is, yeah, there are a lot of big things and horrible things that are happening out there. And part of me just feels a certain responsibility to say something. The emperor has no clothes. Okay. You got to have people out there that are shouting it out when everybody else thinks that he's wearing the most magnificent thing in the world, because that's what he says, even though he's flapping along up there on stage. Those are important things to talk about. And I think it opens up a lot of areas to explore and discuss. But to me, I'm also interested in solutions, because while we are going through, look, no bones about it, a horrific period. This is going to be monumental in the history of the United States, in the history of the world. I have no idea of all the craziness that's going to be coming. But there will be an afterwards. And I'm curious what we want to do with that afterwards. I mean, one of the things that has driven me the most is we have achieved so much as a society. I mean, we own the planet. Okay, we're the boss. We're the top. We can go anywhere we want. We can do anything we want. We can go up into space. We have conquered this planet. There's nowhere where we can't go, for the most part. So now what? What do we as a species, what do we as a people, what are our ideals? Where do we want to go? It's one thing to fight against the injustices and those types of things that are happening in the world around you. It's one thing to point out, this is bad, this is wrong, this isn't the way to do things. But I think that it's also important to go, okay, so what do we want to do? I don't think that our current economic and political system has been really working for most people. I don't think continuing that is a good idea. But what is a good idea? And I'm not talking about let's pick from the selection of different economic systems that have been explored over the years. I'm talking about let's us come up with something. What is it that we want as a society, as a people? What do we want to aim for? What do we want to go for as a species? I think small little basic things, nothing high, nothing philosophical. But yeah, to me, that's one of the things that I also want to be able to explore in this is talk about the bad things that are happening, rail against the injustices and the crazy fascist BS that's happening. But also let's try and find and explore what we would like to do instead. Because I think that is going to be really important for us as a people, should we survive all this craziness.
Yeah, I definitely concur. I one of the things is I just felt like if I don't say something, if I don't use this platform to speak my mind about more
Mm-hmm.
important things, then like when I just, it's like when people, I don't know, when people would say, well, if you don't vote, then shut up.
Right.
Like, you have nothing to, I can't sit back. I don't want to be one of those people who was like, man, I wish I would have said something. I wish I would have done something, anything,
Right. Oh, yeah.
to be able to reach anyone out there that could listen to, that could find any value or in some things that we say here, because I feel like there's too many echo chambers. It's very easy. Like, this could just end up being nothing. It could be end up speaking to only one group, or maybe more people hear this. I feel like too many, people are just yelling at the people that the right is listening to the right, the left is listening to the left, and the only people that where that intermingles is when somebody just kind of pops in, and then so they can comment and tell that person their whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that we can appeal to everyone, even if, especially because we're not big YouTubers. And that's going to be kind of like a crux of this first episode, is who we are, where we come from, what's our background, why you might want to listen to little old us that are out here in the middle of nowhere YouTube. It's why it's called the Outer Rim. I've been using that for a while. We're out here on the fringes of YouTube, small channels that don't make a lot of impact in the world. And I guess I might as well just get started with myself here. My first video was when I came back from The Force Awakens, and I ran home and I made my first video, just a little short, before shorts were shorts. It was just me going, oh my God, I just came, blah, 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 and I posted it up, and it was the opening of that door. I just needed to do one thing that allowed myself to finally join the YouTube or community. And I partially did it because I still have anxiety, but my anxiety was really, really bad then. And I was kind of using it as a way to fight that, a way to challenge myself, to express myself. Because I mean, like a lot of people that don't have a lot of friends outside of social media or the people you meet online,
Mm-hmm.
I go to work and I come home, and that was it. I didn't have a group of friends. I moved around a lot in my life. Um, I've, I come from a cult background. One of the main reasons why I'm having such a hard time is because I come from that cult background. Because I got out, and now I feel like I'm trapped in a world that is just one great big cult. And it's like you
Yeah.
fought to get away from all of that horribleness, and now it is here everywhere, and I can't get away from it. But at the time also, when I first started doing YouTube, I was a very heavy drinker. I'm a like full blown alcoholism. I was about 2 years out or so, maybe a year and a half from quitting. But during that time, it wasn't good. You could barely hear me in the videos. I'm sure that I was half in the bag, if not fully in the bag, a lot of times when I was talking about something. And I was able to, I think, for the most part, play it off. But I think a lot of people think that they're playing it off when everybody knows. But unfortunately, people can't smell your breath through the YouTube, you know. screen.
Not smell-o-vision, thankfully. Yeah.
And this is back like Captain America Civil War, The Revenant, you know, the X-Files reboots, you know. I was playing The Walking Dead from Telltale Games, and one of my first playthroughs of The Last of Us and Borderlands and things like that. And eventually I quit drinking, and I needed something to put my back up against. And that is when I fully committed to making YouTube videos. And I made a lot of videos. I have an insane amount of videos for somebody with such a small subscriber count, because I just wanted to talk about everything. I needed to talk about everything: comics, video games, movies, shows. I piled on. I did full season, and I was trying all these new things, and I was doing it off my phone, you know, like at the time. I could only talk for so long. Sometimes it would cut me off in the middle of a video, and I'd only have so much space on my phone. And I was starting to gain, though, like I was consistent, and I started to grow a little bit, a little. And I mean, one of the things about why I am a small channel and I want to stay relatively small. And by relatively small, I mean I don't see myself ever being like hundreds of thousands to millions of subscribers ever. I don't want that. I'd be happy with 10,000 by the end. Like I'm almost at 2,500, and I've been doing this for a really long time. Mainly because I would hit these inconsistent points when I would have a real hard time mentally. I would get blocks. I would get upset over all kinds of things, and I would just shut down, and I wouldn't make stuff. And sometimes it would be it would be like that kind of fear of success, almost that kind of thing, where it'd be like, I'm getting views and I'm moving up and I'm getting numbers. Like people are starting to slowly but surely find my channel. And it was almost like I was looking for a reason to be upset, and I would take it and run with it, and then I wouldn't make anything for a while, and then I'd be like, oh, look at, you know, I feel sorry for myself, and be all mad. And I was a little bitch sometimes, a big diva sometimes. I One of the reasons why I'm glad to be a small channel is because I don't ever want to be that guy that I saw myself sometimes being, because I've met bigger YouTubers, and let me tell you something. They say never meet your heroes. These people aren't even my heroes, and I wished I hadn't met them. I wish the mystery had still been there, because they're assholes. Not all of them. I think that I don't care if I name names on this. I met Brad Jones. I've met Brad Jones several occasions. I've interviewed him. He is an awesome dude. But there are other people that I met, and I won't say who they are. But I mentioned Brad Jones, and that's a clue for the audience that knows Brad Jones. Who could I possibly be talking about? They are assholes, a lot of them. And I could see the ego and the pride, and I would get that way sometimes. It's like, you're just some dude talking about movies. Who the fuck do you think you are to act like this? I know that even like on your, like, I've had conversations with you that I'm embarrassed that I've had, because I'm like, Jesus, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, you making it sound like something so unimportant is the most important thing. Like, like, you know, like,
we all get very passionate about things sometimes.
But there's ways to do it, and I do also talk. I think that also links back to my like bad social anxiety.
Sure.
Not being very awkward. I feel like sometimes I've been like a real episode of I Think You Should Leave with Craig Robinson, where it's like I've been that guy that will take an awkward situation and know you're in the wrong, or you know what you're doing, you see what you're doing, and you just keep going because you can't stop yourself. I was mentioning in our Discord yesterday how I was at C2E2 this year and saw myself. I got myself so upset that I turned on everyone. I'm dressed up like Hunter S. Thompson, and I became just a shut down, angry little person. People couldn't talk to me. I would just, and you see yourself doing it and you go, what are you doing? What are you doing? And that other voice is like, I know exactly what I'm doing. Oh, fuck all of you. You know, like, how can no one else be reacting the way I do? I feel right now. Why can't anybody see how insane all this is? You know? And it's like, no, everybody does. They're just not acting like you. They're holding it in because they're in a public spot and you have to like be you don't want to be the center of attention and you're making yourself the center of attention. And then you have to live with that. I have to live with that I was surrounded by all these people who now don't know me. But if I ever show up as Hunter S. Thompson again, they're going to be like, oh, fuck, that guy is back. And I was the only Hunter S. Thompson at that show. So anyway, I mean, that's kind of me saying like, I'm happy to be where I am. I'm happy that to talk about things on small levels and just do it for fun. I work 40 hours a week at a job that like just about everybody else's job. None of us want to do it, right? Like we all just, you find something that you're halfway decent at and you just do your job. And I do this in my spare time. If I had more spare time, I would spend more time making YouTube videos. But at the same time, I still didn't want to keep making this videos about every show that came up. And it was like, oh, I have to be home for this to watch this. And oh, it's a bingeable show. So now I've got to binge watch and I've got to watch the episode, make a video, watch the episode, make a video. And then at the same time, you know, like having everything that's going on in the world in my head that just kept like wanting to just erupt from my skull. That, you know, I'd be like, so yeah, and then just as an example, this is nothing, but like just to say like, oh, you know, the latest episode of The Expanse is on. Well, okay, so in this first scene, Amos said, fucking Trump, you know, like I just wanted like, you know, you just want to like, it's never far from my head.
Little fascist
Why
Tourette's.
am I talking about this? Why am I talking about this? When people are like, why are we rioting in the streets right now? That's, you know, like the guy from Network, or even, you know, like to make a funnier joke, like, you know, the version that Stanley Spadowski does in UHF, where he's like, these floors are dirty as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Sorry. See?
No.
I still brought up
reference is always good.
In that, you know, for anybody that, you know, Network, you know, wow, that's still like Network. I don't know how many people even know about Network that are a certain age, and definitely don't think a lot of people know about UHF if they're a certain age, unless you're a Weird Al fan. Anyway. Another problem that I was having, though, was I had been, after quitting drinking and making tons of videos, I fell into the weed trap for myself, which was I was done drinking, but I was using weed to help with my anxiety, to help me feel better about situations that I was in. And that was one of the reasons why it would be really easy to be inconsistent and slow down and making content that I'm just not that proud of after the fact. And feeling like, man, you know, I'm on somebody else's stream and I am stoned off my ass and feeling like unprofessional about it. And after a while, I just realized like, you're never really going to grow past this. It's probably for good reason that you're, you know, and it's probably a good thing that you don't get much bigger than this. Or slowly at least.
Sure.
It's better to be healthy as a person than to be searching for some kind of internet or social media fame. It's better to be a good friend and making good friends and being part of a community. The reason why I wanted to do it was to find people and find friends and find community. And one of the things that's easy to forget at least for me, was I had it. I have it now. I have a community. It's small. It's mighty. I love our great little group of people that pop up, that are in the Discord, that are in the chat, that are, comment still on videos, that find the channel, find community. Little by little, even if people come and go, there are people that I see, will pop up in a game chat that I haven't talked to in months. And it's like, yes, why? That's why. To keep that going, to keep friendship and community and relationships and farm, and find new ones and strengthen the ones that I have, because I used to just push people away. And I don't want to do that anymore. And being smoking up all the time was clouding my head. It wasn't helping my anxiety, because I didn't have those same anxieties anymore. It was like one day you realize, oh, wait, what am I even doing this for? Because it's not making my games better. It's not making my videos better. It's not making my job better. It was just a thing that I did. And I just went, oh, it's time. I have to stop. And so I needed time before we did this to get my head clear and start being able to focus better, get my freaking short-term memory back.
That is helpful. That is helpful in conversations. To remember what you just said.
And to like when we were on when we did the rankings thing over on Mark's channel.
Yeah.
I was still smoking weed then, and I was still there's still that part of me that was just like, I was not like, I was like, what am I doing? What am I, anyway.
Well, and the thing is, yeah, if you're distracting yourself, you're not helping yourself. So yeah, you're not going to make the best product that you possibly can.
Yeah. And we had been talking, and we still have a big Trouble in Little China videos we have to do. In fact, when I booted up StreamYard, almost like this sad little reminder of what we need to do. The band, like the whole thing I had made, was still in the background of StreamYard that I had to take down. It's well, hey, I paid for the StreamYard thing again, so there we go. We got a month,
so we better do that quickly.
But I wanted to finally, after clearing my head and all of that, I felt now it's time. We have to, and I've been itching. Like, I've been like, oh man, like it's time to like start talking about this. Let's get the ball rolling, because the quicker we do it, the more we do, the easier it gets. So if this, you find this video to be all over the place, it's because this is the first one. It is us finding our legs. This is me feeling like I have to, like, in every situation in my life, explain myself. Explain why you should listen to me or talk to me, get my background. I never went to college. I did pretty decent in high school, if that's important to you. I've lived in Illinois and Wisconsin. I lived in Illinois the first 19 years, and for the next almost 10, I lived in Wisconsin, and I've been back here. In the Midwest has been my home, and I have seen some shit. I have experienced the heartland. It's good, it's bad. Right now, it's a lot of bad out here in Big Sky country, where the less people there are, the worse it gets. And it's very hard being a progressive thinking person living out in the middle of nowhere, where I'm in a blue state, thank God, but I am surrounded by red. But it's sparse red, because there's blue. I just happen to be in a really red part of this state. And in this podcast that we're doing, yes, the most unoriginal thing ever, starting a podcast, is this is the part of my channel where we can talk about the things that matter, that actually matter. I've made comments about this on videos where we're talking about shows and movies, and I bring up this is not important. This is fun. This is a lark, but it's not important.
Yeah.
It's the things that we talk about this stuff to decompress from the real world. But unfortunately, I've got to get some shit out before I can start really maybe I hopefully I'll be able to enjoy making regular content if I don't feel this like weight of the pressure that I'm putting on myself to express what I think needs to be said in these spaces where people that talk about pop culture aren't doing it. There are channels like Actual Fandom and Birdman and Organized Chaos and other places that do talk about some fan stuff, but also most of their content is topical, and they go after the people that are making life miserable on YouTube and indoctrinating people on YouTube and spreading lies and making people angry for no reason but monetization to make money off of your rage.
And you can trust us because we're not here for monetization.
I don't. Yeah, I have made. I think I've made $300 on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I haven't even made that. It's been on for a decade plus. So yeah, in the question of why listen to these couple of schlubs here, well, one is the breadth of point of view and experience. Rob just told you where he's coming from. I'm in so much a very opposite position. I live in Los Angeles. I live in the second largest city in the world. I live technically in LA County, which is the largest county in the United States in terms of population. The population of LA County is bigger than 40 other states. California itself is what? The fourth largest economy in the world. If it was just by itself, it's certainly the largest economy in the United States. So, and I went to a good school. I got a college degree. It looks great up on my wall. So Rob's coming from the heartland and I'm coming from the West Coast. And yeah, we're surrounded by people. And yeah, California, it's leftist, it's democratic. You know why? Because there's so many of us. Because we all have to work together. We all have to put up with each other in order to live and work and exist around here. And it gives us a different perspective. You have to me, the more cultures you see, the more kind of people that you experience, the larger breadth things, the more that you start to understand and really see the connectivity. It's easy when you are in a small group, very isolated, cult-like, as Rob can easily attest to. It forces a very particular point of view because there's no pushback. Where I come from, everybody's pushing back. And you know something? That's great. Because you learn so many different things. You see so many different things. You have so many excellent foods that you can have. And yeah, you got to do a little bit of give and take. You got to tolerate a certain things. But as long as we as a society sort of grab focus on the very particulars. Look, killing each other, that's bad. Taking each other's stuff, that's bad. Some basic agreements to exist, and outside of that, do your own thing. That's where you can really, expand and see a world that's so much better, so much bigger than the world that you thought that it was. I grew up in a suburban house. We did pretty good. It was a very white neighborhood, very middle class. and you're used to the jokes and the humors of the culture and of what we grow up and what is funny. And I didn't know at the time that the humor that was used around here would be considered today racist, sexist, any type of your ist. You're growing up with Benny Hill, who's dressing up and making gay jokes, and so you just think that that is something that's funny. But as I went from high school into college, as I started working with other artists, and you start interacting with so much larger crowds, you start realizing that those things that you thought were funny really aren't. They're hurting people. Some people are offended by it, people that you like. But if you don't interact with them, if you don't see them, if you don't listen to that feedback, you don't get a chance to change, to become greater than you were. I mean, look, I'm a big believer in humanity. I believe that human beings, amongst all other species, have the possibility to evolve within their own lifetime, to be better than they were. I certainly have experienced it. And as a culture, I think overall, up until recently, we've experienced it and seen it. We've become more inclusive, more understanding, more thoughtful, more respectful, more compassionate, more empathetic. And that has opened us up to higher and higher achievements, to listen to more and more voices, to see more and more things. That's why we've gone to space. That's why we have computers. That's why we're able to do this conversation right now. So I believe in humanity. Now, I also believe in the theory of Atlantis. So you can take my belief for what it may be worth. But one thing that I've also had the luck to experience is a group of very intelligent friends in high school that were history buffs. Many of them Jewish, whose parents or grandparents had fought in World War II, had escaped Nazi Germany, had escaped Russia, hearing stories growing up of all of these things. And so the history of Nazi Germany in World War II was very big with this group. And not just a curse, a level of respect. Rommel's tank brigades across Northern Africa, that was amazing. The propaganda machines of Hitler shouldn't be ignored. Now, of course, the brilliance of Churchill was never underestimated or undercut in any of these stanches. A lot of big supports of the British armies and stuff. But it was an understanding, and I think that it came from both the family experience, the horrors of it, and a desire to understand it. But what that gave me is a very strong historical knowledge of the rise of Nazi Germany. So over the years, as Rob and I have done a lot more collaborative work here on YouTube, and we've seen what has gone up in the world around us, this has brought up a lot of obvious conversations, a lot of feelings. And for me, a lot of just abject fear and terror that, oh my God, we thought we planned for everything. We thought we were ready for alien invasions. We were available for zombies to come. We were available for AI, for Terminators to come. I don't think we ever considered that Nazis were going to be the concern that we would have to face as a nation. Don't know why. It's kind of obvious. Been moving in that direction for a while. So lot of big feelings, and it's. I like the fact that we connect here with Rob and I, is because while we come from two very different areas, different educational levels, different backgrounds. We are both aware and observant enough and appreciative of other people to the point of being able to see what is happening to the world around us and go, this is not right. Whatever excuse that you have, this is not right. You can't go after someone just because they believe differently than you. You can't fire people because they complain about their boss. You can't send troops to cities because you feel like it. In fact, you're not supposed to be able to do any of this stuff that you just because you feel like it. And yet, we have had cultural movements that have led us to this direction. We have made the ugly American the symbol of our nation. And to me, I think that's what kind of hurts the most of everything that sort of happened. Is the very, I mean, just look. Trump is like the villain of an 80s teen coming of age film. The evil real estate developer that's going to take over the community center, and we're going to have to win $10,000 in the dance-off to push him back. That's it. That's the guy. He's a used car salesman with no perceptive reality of himself. And yet we as a nation, and we have to take responsibility for it. I didn't vote for the sucker, but we as a nation have to take the reality of what has happened. This is why history is important. And we can't just cast aside the things that we don't like. We have made this person who is the image of everything that we detest, everything that is wrong, arrogant, self-centered, complains of everything as everybody else's fault. He is the greatest thing in the world. We've made that the symbol of our country. So we as citizens have a responsibility to say no. No, 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 no. And to point out the flaws and just be a voice. And not just because I think he's a Nazi, because he is. We'll do an episode and I can bring down a definite list of fascist traits so we can check them off together. But that we have to find a way past this. And we have to do that with the people that once supported him, who will also be suffering and realize that they have been sold a bill of goods. They have been lied to. And it is not right for them to also have to suffer if they see what has happened. There's got to be a way to bring them out. It's only with all of us that we're able to defeat and bite this back. So we need this wide variety of viewpoints, of approaches, of language, of ideas to discuss, to bring points of view, and to speak to everybody that's out there. I'm going to be able to speak to a different group of people than Rob's going to be able to speak. And together we're going to be able to speak to to a group of people that neither of us could be able to speak to. And maybe through this, we can start to reach out and find other people that can also speak with those voices. And you know, that's where I would like, you know, for this to go to. Because yeah, like Rob, I've been doing reviews for years. Why? Because I wanted to talk about cool art stuff and shows and all those things that also interest me. But let's be honest, there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't very good. And then you promise you're going to talk about a show, and then you just have to rant for like 4 weeks or 5 weeks or 8 weeks on a show that you don't like anymore. We don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. After a while the shows are interesting and definitely things that I want to be able to talk about, I would much rather talk about what is going on in the world and what what we can do about it, or maybe just point out the craziness of an event so we could look at each other and go, oh my God, you know something? That is insane. Because sometimes you just need somebody else to be able to go, okay, so it wasn't just me. Somebody else thinks that this is craziness too. If the voices aren't out there, then we're going to be isolated. We're going to think that it's just us. So we're here to try and lend a voice to that too.
Definitely, definitely, because that's a one thing that I want people to be able to, when they come to listen to this, is that I'm not the only one, that there are other people out there, because the right and the left have all these people you can listen to that are just going to tell you, they're going to speak right. The right knows how to speak right to their people, and the left knows how to speak to their people. And then there's all the grifters who will pretend that they care about this cause so that they can get their views and their money up. And then you've got the media itself that is just, I can't even listen to the news anymore I don't I don't watch clips of Fox News and laugh. I don't watch CNBC or CNN either anymore, because any of that stuff, because it's just, they're
It's
all
corporate
all
focused
bought
as
and
it's
paid
always
for.
been. Yeah.
At the whims, we have a regime that is threatening every way that people can talk about him, and they've been caving and paying him. And when you come here, you're gonna be able to hear two people that, yeah, come from different backgrounds, but I can tell that both of us have just been like, it's not going through the motions, but it's easy to talk about the Mandalorian or whatever when things were relatively fine.
Oh yeah.
Fine. But
When it was
it's
just the
felt worse
normal
and worse.
horrors.
Yeah, it's felt worse and worse, though, giving our time to shows and movies when they're just not that important enough to give that amount of thought towards. If if you want to still be, you can still go and watch anything you want from these people that's all they ever talk about, right? They're still feeding you any bit about, like, either a 5-minute blurb or a 50-minute essay about whatever pop culture you want. And I'll still plan on doing that. But things aren't good, and I can't sit here pretending that talking about, I don't even know what, Peacemaker is something that I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to talk about. I go, eh. I mean,
I don't feel good about being the distraction from the serious things that are out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to distract ourselves and distract others because we need a break. But I think sometimes, and too often, that other stuff is so serious. It's like, look, man, we shouldn't be. What are we doing filling time talking about nothing important? The world's exploding.
Yeah. A bit more about, like, where I'm coming from too, folks, is I never voted in my life until I'm Gen X. And one thing that I really want to say right up front is Gen X needs to step up.
Yeah.
Okay. They called us slackers. That was what they called us. That is so tame. But they basically ignored us. The boomers basically ignored us. because we were just slackers, even though that's just not true. We just didn't give a fuck about what the boomers cared about. They were we were doing our own things. We were the last generation to get spanked openly. Like after us, that's like we remember getting hit by our parents. We remember strict but that was we were like, no, that's it. This is done. We're not passing this along to our kids.
Yeah. We spent so much time trying to fix what happened to us to our kids. We just sort of skipped over ourselves entirely.
And Gen X needs to step up, because we're the ones that are about to take, when the boomers go, and they're the me generation. Why are we surprised that they're still acting like me? I only give a fuck about myself. They were that way in the 80s, and they're that way now because they're on their way out the door. And for some reason, these selfish pricks think that they can control the world. They want the world the way it was after they're dead. They want us to be living the way that they think that the world should be. Fuck them. This is Gen X time to act like Gen X and say, fuck you, boomers. We're here to support ourselves and every other generation that's after us. You guys want to sit and scream and cry foul about how your life didn't turn out the way you thought it would. Join the fucking club. It didn't happen for most people. We just didn't decide to. I mean, your grandparents, your parents, boomers' parents and grandparents stopped fascism. But what it turned out was that they just didn't want people to tell them who their fascist leader was going to be. They needed to pick their fascist, because you can't make Americans do anything. You have to slowly but surely over the last 30 years prey on their fears through the media and everything else, building up slowly to be afraid of each other, to be afraid of everything, and especially to be afraid of each other, to pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, which is what Trump is. He's the fucking Wizard of Oz. He is a con man. And so is everyone attached to him. And it's time to start talking about not just what's going on, but to start talking about the solutions, like Darrin said. How do we get through this? How do we get through this? Because I got sober during Trump. I don't know how I did that. So I'm telling you, you can, in the worst of times, I picked to go, I guess I'm, it's the joke from Airplane. It looks like I picked a bad time to quit drinking.
Yeah.
But somehow it's 7 years now. I'm going on 8. No alcohol. In fact, wait, no, it was 8 years. It's 8 years this year. This last August was 8 years with no drinking. And I'm still, it's been his first 6 months of his presidency are worse than to me the entire 4 years of his first 4 years.
By far, even including COVID.
Yeah, I mean, and I made content back there. It was just it showed when 2020 wouldn't seem to end. And yeah, I mean, COVID played a part in that, but I still went to work every day because I'm an essential worker. Thank God I got to go to work all day. And I had to listen to all the worst of society every single day. And I never thought that it's my worst fears coming true. And it's time for us to start breaking down, whatever episode, whatever discussion we have, it's time to start checking some of those things off that we can talk about with you guys that are your concerns, that are our concerns, that are ways to think about it that maybe you haven't heard of. Maybe you have, but talk about things and try to come up with real solutions, because I've had, like, we all have like these moments, right, where I'm like completely enraged and I just want to and you see certain people and you're like, yeah, and if everybody wasn't always filming everybody else right now, like, oh, and but then at the another time I'll be like, I'll realize, and this is the most important part, is these people have been duped.
Yeah.
Not look, a lot of them are heinous people, but there's also a big chunk of people that have been duped, and we need to figure out, and they are probably thinking about, how do we live? How do I go back? How do we live with each other? How can I live with these people who see me as this? How can I rejoin the rest of us that we're telling them he is a liar. He's a rapist. He's a felon. He speaks the language of the abuser.
Oh yeah.
Every
Oh yeah.
single word out of his mouth is like listening to that, whether it was your mother or your father or whatever person that could have, like, that you was, if you ever knew anybody that abused people, if you ever knew anyone, whether it was a father, mother, whoever in your life, there's a certain language that they use. There's a certain way of speaking that they use. And every word out of this motherfucker's mouth is the language of that abuser, to deflect, to blame everyone else, to blame, oh, things aren't fair for me, and this is why. Everything out of this guy's mouth is to convince you, to gaslight you, to
Oh
make
yeah.
you like be his victim, to stand to basically get, like, he's the kind of guy who would try to convince you to take a bullet for him, literally,
I mean, as an
while he just goes
example,
on about his day.
as a straight
And
face, he's talked about reducing medications by 1,500%. You cannot reduce anything more than 100%. That's how percentages work.
we're going to
But
be talking about so many things, like the real war. There's no war on Christmas. You know what there's a war on? Intelligence.
oh yeah, education.
Education is one of the biggest things that we have to talk about, because it is not just some problem for the last 20 years. Education in this country has been a problem for going back to, at least, if we want to just be, let's not, I'm a history buff too, but it feels like the same ignorance that's happening today was happening in the 1800s. Okay. It's always been, keep the majority of your society uneducated so you can easily manipulate them.
Well, when we're really going to get down to things, what they will definitely be talking about is the fact that the illusion is the fight is the left versus the right. That's the illusion.
Yeah.
The reality is it's top versus bottom.
Yeah.
It's again the 0.1% that have the vast majority of wealth in the country. The top 10% who have more than the bottom 50% combined. The people that are getting tax breaks on yachts and jets and arguing about their $45 million homes while you're trying to work 2 jobs and use SNAP benefits in order to keep yourself and maybe your kids alive. The idea that, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, a phrase that is literally based on an impossibility that Americans have adopted to go, yeah, it's impossible, and we can do that with our hard work and attitude. That isn't really how it is. Again, I have a college degree. I have my own business. I barely survive. The biggest thing I own is a 20-year-old car. Every time I've tried to put something away, new disaster happens, new thing happens, new whatever. I could change my approach and, I don't know, take advantage of workers and people and things and exploit them in order to make money, like is generally the business practice here in the US. But I can't do that and sleep at night. I refuse to. So it's not about how hard you work. It's not even about your left or your right. Are you religious? Are you an atheist? Are you whatever? Are those differences? Sure. But most of those differences are actually end up being very, very tiny when you examine what it is that people want in their lives. Most of the struggle that we all go through, most of the division that we all experience, most of the crime out there is encouraged by the fact is those that have create artificial scarcity in order to keep the rest of us from gaining ground on them.
Yep.
We have a scarcity in housing in the United States, certainly in Los Angeles. Why? Because they stopped building houses. Why? Because by not building houses, people who own property, their value goes up. Usually the boomers.
Man, we were going after them.
Yeah. But I mean, it is kind of that reality, because the talk about everybody is always like, I used to work my way through college and I could do this and I had my job as, okay, in 1978, you could earn for a summer job at minimum wage enough money to afford college at a state college for that year. You could literally work summers and earn your tuition for the year. You cannot do that now. The medium house was what, 3 times the medium wage? Now it's 7 times. Also, most property out there is only for rent and not for purchase. So even those values are going up. The thing is you can work as hard as you want. You can work your Uber jobs. There's what they're saying, upwards of 50% by 2030, upwards of 50% of the population will be working multiple jobs in order to survive. The gig economy hasn't freed us from our financial worries. It's tied us into a cheaper way of wage slavery. So yeah, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff on this channel. Feel like I'm veering off into new corners
and
here.
I'll swing back on me because I got sidetracked because I started going off on boomers and Gen X stuff. Because I had said I had never voted.
That's right.
And back in, but when, because I myself, growing up in the 90s, I didn't think racism was that bad anymore. I honestly saw most people just getting along. Most people, and I was living in Wisconsin and Illinois here, and I never saw it, or at least not to the degree that I was seeing it in like maybe in bigger cities. And it just seemed like everybody, like for a long time, was just kind of like, whatever. If you didn't like somebody, you didn't like somebody. I never went into places where I'd actively hear racial slurs or anything until I came back to Illinois in like the early 2000s when I walked into a bar and I heard somebody say something. I was like, what? When I lived here before, I never noticed this. I was also a teenager and I was up my own ass.
Sure.
So, when you're young and you're just not paying attention and you're doing your own thing, and life was a struggle then. Life was a struggle for me then. And I was so caught up in my own life that I just wasn't seeing, I guess, what was really going on. And so I never voted. And then Obama gets elected. And I'm like, after George, okay, because I did pay attention. All right. I did pay attention when George Bush was like elected. And I went, no, wait a minute. Why didn't we go after Why didn't we go after this guy's election? Why did we? What are electors? Why did he get elected? Then 9/11 happens, and it gave the government every reason it needed to completely start taking away shit from us. And with the Patriot Act, I mean, the Patriot Act was like the opening act to what we're having, what's happening now, right? And so I started getting a little more, by the time Bush was out and Obama was in, we had 8 years where I just was like, whatever. Again, like, I had my own problems. I was drinking all the time, getting worse and worse, yada, yada, yada. But and I'll also say, like, look, we all, like, I'm so happy when we elected Obama, but we're going to have to talk about that shit too. Because all that change, where'd it go?
Yeah.
What happened? What happened?
Lot of promises that didn't really
and
occur.
Before anybody goes, well, he had a House and a Senate, blah blah. No, because if the motherfucker that's operating in the White House today can do shit and just have it happen without worrying about Senates and Congress, well, like, we needed leadership back then that had at least audacity to do the things to make change. But anyway, I didn't vote then. I was like, oh, I don't got to worry about it. Obama's in, and when we're done with this, we'll just get the next Democrat in, and and because I'm not a Democrat or a Republican,
right?
Okay, I'm with you.
Same.
I believe in humanity, even if humanity doesn't see how it can help itself. But when he announced seriously that he was going to go for president, I went, oh, okay, no, I have to. This is a bridge too far. I am finally going to vote because we're not electing a guy who goes on TV and says, you're fired. We're not that people, are we? Oh yeah, I forgot how stupid people are, how easily led and ignorant they are. And I knew how many people were pissed out that we actually elected a black guy for president. And now you want to have a white lady that I didn't like. Okay? I didn't like her.
Nope.
But she was not him. And would we have been better off with her than him? Yes. Would she have been perfect? No. Would she have done things that pissed me off? Yes. Would she have lied every second of every day? Not every second. Like he does.
Fair.
Because so he gets elected, and that was when I was like, well, I'm never going to not vote. But I believe in humanity. I believe in progress. I unfairly kind of made a comment when we were first talking about Alien Earth about forgetting about nostalgia. I always think forward. I think about nostalgia all the time.
Sure.
But when it comes to life, when it comes to the possibilities of this world, I think ahead. I think like a young person does. It's one of the things that I love, that I think is a great quality that I have. And I don't toot my own horn very often. It makes me very uncomfortable. But I see the possibilities and progress that we can make if we work together, and I'm so happy that I subscribed to a woman named whose channel is Cult College.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I found her, because she talked a lot about cults and things. And she said the same thing that I've been saying. No one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. All right? There is whatever created this universe, whatever reason we all are here talking right now on this little magic box, whatever it is, or whatever concept it is, however it actually happened, that's not coming to save us. We are in space, floating in space. It is a miracle that we're here. It is beyond the calculations for all of us being here right now are impossible. Makes my head want to explode. And what are we doing with it? We're still talking about the fucking Kardashians? we give
Truly a low point in humanity there.
we give the lowest intelligent people the lowest common denominator, and we prop them up like gods. And we look down on intelligence because of the lack of education in this world, because of the shame of not being educated. And that's where I come from. I'm a humanist. I'm like Tony Stark, man, except I wouldn't ever build Ultron.
Yeah.
Okay? I believe that the possibilities of us working together, even with our differences, that's how we get what we want. You want to go to Mars? You want to go visit other solar systems? It happens with us working together to build this shit. Not them. They're not going to help us do anything. Ever. We have to start making them accountable. Now. Soon. Because they're putting things in place to try to stop us from ever being able to do anything. And if we're not willing to risk what little we have to stand up to this, then we don't deserve that bright future. Because someday we're all going to be looking back going, well, shit, I guess I should have gone and done something. But instead, because of that fear we have, and I have it too, but that fear has got to be overshadowed by the rage that we feel towards what they are doing to us out in the open, all the things that they are testing to see what they can get away with, all the ways that they are trying to bait us into letting those things happen. That's what we're going to be talking about on this channel, is fighting back, coming up with solutions, giving some hope, doing it with hopefully some funniness at the same time, because we won't always talk about the most absolute dire stuff.
And humor is important to deal with the craziness and tension that we have. I think it's easier to listen to that than just doom and gloom all the time anyway.
And that's where I'm fully coming from. And I think that that's where you're coming from. And there's so many things that so many topics and things that have happened to us personally that are going to be coming up in these things, because some of Darrin's experiences are things that he's had to worry about, that I've worried about for him, are things that are nightmare inducing, things that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Well, no, you know. Well, since they don't care what happens to you, but we also have to remember our empathy.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, the only reason I would wish for it on my own, my worst enemy, in a way, to honest, is so that they would understand that struggle and maybe make them not my worst enemy.
Yeah. And if you are queer, bi, non-binary, trans, any color of the rainbow, you are safe here.
Yes. Yes.
All of us, anybody that is feeling demarginalized and are being demarginalized and having your rights taken away, this is where you are safe to say whatever. Because that's one of the hardest parts right now, is knowing, like, that there are people out there that don't live any kind of lifestyle that I have. Different colors, different races, different cultures, different sexualities, different genders. And to me, it doesn't matter. I have not always, growing up, it has taken me years to become this person. I went through so many different phases that I now cringe at. but I got here. And I've been here for a while. And I wish that there was more to say and do for these people. And that's one of the big parts of this too. So for all of you out there that don't feel like anybody's talking to you or for you, because this would be the place to be, for the comment section, because we're not doing these live. We're doing these pre-recorded. Who knows what the future holds for what we're doing here? But this is for everybody. And if you're somebody who's struggling with your choices that you've made and you don't know what to say or do to walk it back, that's the best possible way I can say it right now. This is also a place for you to come if you take it, if you're here sincerely. And for anybody else,
it's a respectful, interactive medium here, and that's what allows all of us to come together, is because there's a respect for everybody else's viewpoint. We want to hear that. We want to know more about that.
We want to know your experiences. We want you to tell us what's happened to you, so that we can also bring that up and talk about those things. And I think that that's pretty much all I really have, because this wasn't the video for like making one thing. From here on out, we are going to be picking topics that we'll have a focus on as much as we ever can, because when Darrin and I get together, we tend to go in all kinds of directions.
We have a start point.
Like I said, I was trying to talk about my first, how I got into voting, and I ended up turning it into a attacking the boomers rant. That's what happens. We end up going around. You just have to pay attention, and we always circle back around.
We'll bring it back. We'll bring it back around.
My short-term memory has been coming back. So when I get sidetracked, I do remember, because there'd be so many times where we'd be in a video and I would be talking and then I'd forget what the hell was I even talking about? Yeah. And I'd be like sitting there just going. Meanwhile, in the back of my mind, I'm going, what was it you were thinking of? What is it? Remember, you stupid bastard. Now, I at least remember that I'm getting sidetracked, so that I can circle back and talk about it again and come to my point. So, pardon me, congestion, weather change, all that. The Midwest. Oh yeah. Out here in the near Chicagoland area, we're waiting what could be troops coming to our town, just like in Darrin's.
Yay.
So we all have that looking. I'm looking down the barrel of that gun. Speaking of which, I also applied for my FOID card, which is in Illinois. It's the firearm operator's card, so that I can have a gun. because it's my Second Amendment right, man.
That's right.
And I'm going to go get myself trained. Oh, one of the best parts about being in a red area is when you tell them that you're getting your FOID card and you go, well, where's a good gun range? They have a million of them.
I was going to say they are everywhere.
All the gun ranges are out here in the middle of. I just want to go to the gun range to be educated on guns, so that I'm not afraid of them, so that I know how to use them properly and safely. So it's not just so I can be like Dirty Harry out there. It is so that I am educated on the thing that I have. So anyway. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts for this?
I was going to say, the only thing I wanted to kind of add on to where we were talking previously before we wrap is look, there is a right side of history.
Yep.
There is. If you look back and you trace it on a long enough time, civilization grows by integrating and learning and coordinating and growing, and that is how we get better. That is how we move more. That is how we evolve. It is respect and it is inclusion. Because the minute that you ostracize voices, the moment that you cut people off, you are losing potentially valuable information, valuable contribution to your knowledge, to your society, to your sense of self, to your philosophy. I've tracked, my kid's trans. I have a trans kid. And I thought that I was open-minded until I was challenged. And then I realized that I personally still had time to grow. And it forced me to look back on the evolution of what has happened over the years, because the same arguments been trans people are the exact same arguments that were used against gay people in the 80s. Yeah, it wasn't grooming then. It was indoctrination. You had concerns. It wasn't bathrooms. It was drinking fountains, because the AIDS crisis was blowing up and nobody knew how you got that. And before that, it was the blacks in the 70s. Before that, it was the Jews. And before that, it was the Irish. Each of these going back and through in history, there's some exclusive group. We can't have them there. They're not right. We don't want them intermixing. Their belief system is going to corrupt our own. And each and every time that is proven to be false, each and every time we as a society get better by their inclusion. The fact that we look back and it's only been 10 years since gay marriage was approved of still blows my mind. And what's even crazier, it was Biden that actually brought it up before Obama did. And he got in trouble because it wasn't the official White House position yet. A black president, and even it wasn't until almost the end of his term that they decided to go, hey, maybe gay marriage is okay. Nationally, we still had stuff that had gone in a lot of states and stuff, but that's a blip. And now, seriously, would we think about that being an issue? Some people. But as a society, we know where this direction is. So we want to honor that. We know that the society that we as a people get better, the more that we include, the more that we understand, the more that we grow. Excluding people, taking away rights, that's what the bad guys do. Okay? We are literally in a country right now where it's papers, please. Do you have your identification papers, please? Growing up, that's what you saw in movies about the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. I don't have my papers, so I'm going to be chased down by the guards and arrested or potentially shot. That doesn't happen in America. So if you feel pushed to the side, if you feel like your voice isn't heard, if you feel that you are being persecuted, if you are being oppressed, if you are being silenced, we want to provide a venue for your voice to be heard, because it is only by hearing everybody's voice that we become better as a society. And if you're going against that, I got no time for you. And we're not going to be quiet about it anymore.
Yep. It's time to put up or shut up. So, yep, that brings us to, I believe, the conclusion of this very, as usual, awkward.
This will be the lost episode down the road.
Yeah. Of the initial episode of the Outer Rim podcast.
Yep.
Hope you guys learned a little more about us and where we're coming from and why we want you to come here and listen and learn and help us learn too. I want to be educated. I want to be smarter. I want to always know more. That's the thing, man. Always be learning. Always. No matter what it is. Always try to learn something new. Don't be afraid of new things. Don't be afraid of things you don't understand.
Don't be afraid of challenging your viewpoints.
We walk around with these bricks in our hands that tell you so much stuff. Use it to educate yourself, but don't go to Facebook to learn all those things. Okay,
be smart.
That's where don't go to social media to try to get all your truth. Okay. But anyway, so I'm not going to plug anything. Except we are, we do shows together all the time. So if you look at our channels, you can see what we're up to. I'm always doing something, usually games, and we talk about stuff on Darrin's channel. But right now, when you see the Outer Rim podcast on my channel, you know that we're going to be talking about serious topics, but hopefully there will be some education, some hope, some answers, and a little bit of, who we are, we bring to it. So if you don't like this, I don't know what to tell you.
Nothing we can do about that.
I'm an acquired taste, man, all right? I'm an acquired taste. I'm anchovies, all right? It's just, I don't even like anchovies, you know what I'm saying? So it just, anyway, I'm Rob. That's Darrin. And we're, and as awkwardly as it starts, it's going to end the same way. So have a great night, everybody. We will hope to be on a regular schedule when we figure it all out. I don't even know when this is getting uploaded. I haven't even made a thumbnail. We haven't even discussed that. All these different things that have still got to go into. So by the time you hear this and see this, hopefully we'll have figured out like some of those things. So have a great night, and we'll see you on the next episode of the podcast. Bye.
Bye.
End recording. Are you sure? Play outro. Yeah, you know what? I should play the Last of Us outro just as a joke. All of a sudden, there's a clicker going,
chasing that's it.
Bill Bixby down the road.
We're so professional.